Yeah. Yeah. Whatever makes you think about Hashem is good.
Amen.
All right, page 16.
Mm-hmm.
Sheni for Parshas Emor. Vaydaber Shal Moshe Lemar. Page 16, verse 16. Hashem says to Moshe saying, Yudzayin, Daber Laron Lemar, speak to Aaron saying, Ish Mizarach L'Deresam, every man of your descendants, L'Deresam, throughout the generations, Asher Yevayimum, that will have a deformity, Lo Yikrav, L'Akalachem L'Lehav, must not draw near to offer up the food of his God. Tes Zayin. He must not profane his descendants. But if if he did marry one of the women forbidden to him, the descendants, his descendants of that marriage, are profaned from the holy status of the priesthood. If he married one of the women that's forbidden, then so that's the wrong pasuk. Yizayin, lechem alehav, the food of his God, bread and food. Bread is food. As we say, every meal is called bread. As we see, avad lechem rav, make a big feast, and calls it bread. Yizayin ki chol yesha b'imum lo yikrav. Since it is not fitting any man who has a deformity drawn near to serve, a man who is blind or lame, or has a sunken nose bridge, or disproportionate limbs, Yudches. Every man who has a deformity may not draw near to serve. It's not fitting that he draws near to serve. If you were to offer the blemish to your governor, would he be pleased? Meaning, so the basic meaning is, a person has a deformity. They're not the best looking and best, I guess, if there's a handicap. It's not appropriate to put someone who is not in perfect condition to serve the governor, to serve Hashem. Obvious question is, Hashem is not superficial. What do we care? So that'll be in the daily insight later. Charum. So it gives different deformities. What's a charum? It means anybody whose nose is sunken to the level of between his eyes, such a way he could paint both eyes with one stroke. There's no bridge in the nose. Sarua means one whose limbs are bigger than the other limb, meaning his eye is bigger than the other eye, or his thigh is larger than the other thigh, longer than the other thigh. Continue on. Your death. Or a man who has a broken leg, or a broken arm. Or drooping eyebrows, webbing on his eye, or a blur in his eye.
Rabbi.
Or a dry boil, a festering boil, or crushed testicles. Yeah.
So if a broken arm heals, he can go back to...
I think so, yes, I would believe so. A giben is surchilus in Old French. It means the hairs of his eyebrows are long and lie upon his eyes. I can't get eyebrows done. I'm not sure. A dak, or he has a membrane in his eyes called tail in Old French, as in who spreads out the heaven like a cloth. Oitavalo, Messiah mingles in the appearance of his eye. Chut lavanim shachman alavam pesik basira. So there's a white thread that stretches from the white of the eye and intersects the iris, which is a circle that is surrounding the black of the eye, called the pupil. This thread intersects, the circle enters the black. English translates tavalu as chiliz, a worm, a slug. For this thread is like a worm in your eye. Looks like there's a line, a squiggly line. Similarly, the sage of Israel termed the white line among the blemishes of the firstborn animals. They called the chilazon nachash einav, a squiggly snake in your eye. That's the I don't know the term in optometry, ophthalmology, whatever. Garav Yalefes. These are types of different boils. Cherev is the dry inside and out boil. Lealefes is the Egyptian sore because it cleans the person the day of his death. It's moist on the outside, but it's dry on the inside. However, elsewhere it calls garav the boil that is moist. Right? You said garav is the dry one in and out. Here it's elsewhere it's called the wet one, the moist one. And with the wet boils and clay hard boils, so what's the answer? That when the word garav is by itself, when it's by itself, it means dry. But when it's in comparison to the term cheres, into a very hard or very dry type of boil, and garav becomes moist because it's relative. It means boil. It can mean dry boil if it's by itself, but if it's next to the word cheres, in contrast, it means wet. So it's explained in Gemara B'cheres. Mirech Ashech, English translates it as Mirich Pachadin. This is that his testicles are crushed. Pachadin means entangled, crushed, whatever. Okay. Chaval of Kolish Hashabay Mumizara Aro, and any man from Aaron that has a mum, has a blemish, the descendant of Aaron cannot approach to offer the fire offerings, the karbanis. Mumbai is lechem alav li gashakriv. There is a deformity in him. He must not. The bread of his father is God. He cannot approach to bring. All right. Chavav kol sheshabay mum. Any man with deformity. This comes to include other types of deformities not mentioned. Mumbai. His deformity is in him. Means as if he has deformity, he's fit to serve. But if he has deformity went away, he is again fit to serve.
There's the answer, right? For broken arm.
Yeah, thank you. Lechem alehav, the bread of his God. Again, he repeats it again. Bread equals any food. Any sacrifice is considered God's bread. Chav beis lechem alehav mekadshei kashim. You eat the food. This guy was a blemish. He can't do the service, but he can eat the food. He gets the perks. He can eat the food of his God, of sacrifice that are holy, of holies, of those that are holy. He must eat the food of his God. He may eat it that are holy of holies and those that are of holy. Meaning, we'll see Rashi. Kasha Kashim, is this the higher level holiness ones? And then from the lower, the regular holy, the lesser holy ones. I think Shlomim is lesser holy. And Chatas would be holy of holies, I think. So, of those sacrifices that are holy, you may eat. This refers to sacrifice on a higher level of holiness. Now, permission to eat is stated in regard to the higher level ones you're allowed to eat. And for sure, you can eat the lesser holy ones. If I can have the more sanctified ones, for sure I can have the less sanctified ones. Mm-hmm. So I have to say both. Every word is under the microscope. The answer is, if I didn't say that outright, the Torah didn't say you could have the lesser sanctity ones, I would have said a person with deformity may eat the higher level holiness sacrifices because we find a precedent that Moshe, a non-priest, he did the service for 7 days and he ate the meat of the consummation ram, which was a holy higher level. But he may not eat of the bread and hind leg of a sacrifice of a lighter level of holiness. Because he didn't have, for whatever reason, that one-time part in history, we don't know why he ate, he was told to do first-time stuff, so he ate that. But we don't have a precedent that Moshe ate the lesser holy ones. They weren't brought, whatever the reason was. So you might say that, oh, it's a special thing that holy of holy have precedent, but lesser holy we don't. Therefore, the Torah to say lesser holy the blemished kohen can eat. So explaining Gemara's Zvachim. Chav Gimel. He must not, however, enter towards the partition, this blemished kohen, nor come to the mizbeach. He cannot approach the altar because he has a blemish. And he should not desecrate my temple, for I am Hashem who sanctifies them. Rashi Chav Gimel. However, he must not enter toward the partition to do the service of sprinkling the 7 times in the partition blood, or to the altar, the outer altar, and they both have to be written for whatever reason. It's explained in the Teres Kohanim. Yeah. He should not desecrate my holy service, because if he would serve, his service would become desecrated to be unfit. Okay, he messes it up. So Moshe spoke this to Aaron and his sons, all the laws of the deformed Kayan, about the sanctity and not touching dead bodies, as well to the children of Israel about these laws. Rashi mitzvah. Moshe spoke this commandment to Aaron and his sons and all the children of Israel to warn the Beis Din about the Kohanim. Next chapter. Speak down his sons. They should separate themselves from holy things offered to the children of Israel and from what they themselves sanctify for me in their state of impurity. So they do not profane my holy name, I am Hashem. What's going on here? Rashi, Nazru, Nazira. Nazir means separation, abstinence. They have to abstain from the kudshim in the day of they cannot have any of the holy of holies when they're impure. So we said earlier, become impure if you touch their body, that then they can't have the sacrificial meat. And they should basically have to move the words around a little bit. They separate from the sanctified food of the Israelites that they give to me. That they give to me, and therefore you won't come to desecrate my name. Hashem Akdishim they sanctify. This includes the priest's own things. Gimel say to them, any man of your generations, throughout your generations, any man that will who comes. Any man who draws near to the holy sacrifices that the children of Israel offer, actually, and he's tamei, that soul, that person will be cut off. I am Hashem. I am Hashem. So Rashi says, any man that approaches. The approaching here means food, eating. You find eating in the expression of touching sometimes. However, it's impossible to say that he's liable just from touching. For the also we see the term, if you touch holy food, you get death penalty. But it can't be. We know that they can't be touching. Long as you get death penalty. I meant death penalty. It gets you the spiritual death warrant.
Chorus.
And the rabbis learn from Gzeir Shava. If it's impossible to say that he's chayiv, and the person gets guilt for touching holy stuff while he's in impurity, you can't say it because it says clearly cars on eating by tzav. Because if you're chayiv just for touching, you have to stay eating. The fact that the Torah went on and says that you're chayiv for eating implies that touching wouldn't be enough to make you chayiv for the cars. So why does it say that? So the question is, why does it explain? Why is the term yikrav to? If yikrav means to eat and say eat, why are you saying he comes close? He's guilty. If it doesn't mean that literally, then say the proper Hebrew word yochal. So it's teaching you that when does something become liable to become made impure? Food, once it's mukhshar. Mukhshar means that it was detached from the root, and then water, rain or water or something splashed on it, or some liquid. You don't get the culpability for tumah if you then go to the temple. You're not culpable unless the thing that you're not eating foods. The food you're eating was touched by a external liquid. That kind of prepares it for now the tumah comes in. But if it hasn't, pick an apple and it's dry and it never touched water after it's picking, it can't become tameh. If you're going to say, why is there 3 expoundments of kares? So it says one is an inclusive statement, the other is a specific statement. All right, v'tumasi loves the person ate stuff and he's eating sacrificial meat and he's tameh. The tum of a person is upon him. Maybe it means the meat is impure. Why do you say it's the person impure? There's a person. Maybe that guy is pure and then the food is impure. And it's teaching you that if a pure person eats tameh food, then they become they can't eat it. So when you learn it, it must be it must be from the plain sense of the words. The verse referring to one whose impurity can depart from him. Food, once it becomes tummy, can become not tummy. But a person can go to mikvah and become tahor again. So therefore he says, by prostration, it means the tumah is on it, on the person or on the food. So if it's the food, then it goes against what it says elsewhere. We said also that in order for food to be liable for impurity, you have to touch one of the 7 liquids after it's picked. So all that's left of a person that can become tahor is if the person is impure. We're talking about the he will be cut off. I might have thought that this side to the other, he cut off from his place and made it to live in another place. Okay, Dalit. Any Aaron descendant who is affected by tzaras or who had a impure discharge, can he sacrifice until it becomes purified? As well as somebody who touches a dead person or touches a person who had a seminal discharge. They're impure for one day. In the night, they go to mikvah and they're tahor to eat it, and they're pure. It says here the descendants. What about Aaron himself? Maybe he's above the law. They include himself as an Ein. Yeah. Until he's purified. How do you can purify with sundown and mikvah? I think. Rather means just by ritual immersion. Maybe it just means mikvah makes you whatever. So we see tar elsewhere is in reference to the sun. So here it means the sun has to go down. You go to mikvah and you wait a whole day till the night, then you're tahor. Anyone who is impure of his soul, anyone who became pure through contact with the corpse. Any likewise, a person who touches a creepy crawly thing becomes impure. Or a dead person, or if you touch a dead body, say whatever kind of impurities. What Rashi is saying, all the categories. This is the case of the amount that is fitting for him to make impure just out of a lentil bean. Adam, or a man, a person, a dead person, from whom he becomes impure. The amount of a body is just 1 ounce in the room, or touching it. Any type of impurity he may have. This includes touching a zav or a zava, touching the guy with a seminal discharge, or a nida, or touching a leda. It's interesting. Vav. Any person touching one of these impure people will become impure until the evening. Must not eat the holy foods unless he has bathed his body in ritual water. If a person has touched it in one of these impurities. So this is called, you have to wait for, you have to go mikvah, and you have to wait till the sun going down. Zayin, when the sun comes down, sets, and he's pure, eats from the sacrificial stuff, for it is his food. Rashi Zayin, Nidrash, this is expounded in Yavamas 24b as referring to truma, that it may be eaten after sundown. If you come tameh from a mouse, you go to mikvah, then after sundown you can eat the truma, which is sanctified food. Minakachim, some of the holy foods, but not all foods. Not all holy foods, because the kohen is limited what he's allowed to have. Even the kohen can't have any type he wants. Ches, a carcass or a fatally mauled animal are impure before Hashem. According to the impurity that's stated here, if someone ate a live bird, kosher bird, that doesn't have this is no tumah of touching or lifting, except in eating these things, you have to actually eat them, the carcass. Such a person can't eat sanctified foods. You ate a carcass hamburger, and once it goes to your throat, you're now tameh. Well, that's about nevela like treifa. So it tells you that nevela is, if it has the type, it's only an nevela carcass coming from an animal that it could be kosher, right? I'm sorry. Refers to nevela of an animal, not of a bird. I'm sorry. An impure bird cannot become treifa because it doesn't apply to it. It's not kosher to begin with. Okay. Tess. Vishamas mishmarti, the priest shall safeguard my restrictions. They should not and thereby incur the sin through the holy foods and thereby die. For because they desecrate them. And Hashem who sanctifies them. Rashi Vishamas mishmarti, the priest shall keep my restrictions from eating truma in a state of bodily purity. And if they don't, they'll die. We learn here this refers to the death of heaven. It's not capital punishment with the court, it's heavenly punishment. That God caused the person to die early. All right, Yud, v'chol leichol kodesh. No outsider, no known azar zayin reish. It means a non-kohen. They cannot eat holy kohen food. Teshuv kohen v'sachar leichol, as well as a hired, a resident servant, meaning his paid butler, or a hired servant. They cannot also not eat it because they are separate people than the kohen owner. Leichol kodesh, but truma. Here's something the truma. Now we're talking about truma, not sacrificial meat. Now we're talking about truma, the grain. Teshuv kohen v'sachir, the resident servant of a priest or his hired servant. The toshav of a kohen, and so that means his resident or his. So a toshav is with patach, is davak. What's a toshav? This is someone who ear was pierced, who was acquired as a Hebrew servant until the Jubilee year. So it's like a long-term servant. What's a sachir? This is a servant who is going for 6 years and goes out, paying off his debt. The Torah is telling you that an Eved Ivri it's not a slave, it's acquired to the master. Yud Aleph. But a priest who acquires a person through monetary acquisition, owns a slave, or a slave that's born into his household, they can eat it because they are not considered independent, they're part of his household. Kohen who acquires a person, a Canaanite servant whose bodily acquires his master. Those born in the priest's household, these are the sons of his maidservants, and the wife of a kohen eats truma from this verse because she's also acquired to him through the acquisition of marriage. Why does the Torah say from another verse? It's expounded in the Sifri. Right, Yud Beis, Obas kohen kisil izar, a priest's daughter who's married to a man outside the priesthood, he betrumas kachim leisechel. Once a daughter of a kohen marries an Israelite, she can no longer have truma. She's part of her non-kohen husband household. Leishzar means actually Israel also means to a Levi. Levi also can't have truma. Yud Gimel Bas kohen kisil amanu grusha, but a daughter of a kohen that gets widowed or divorced, v'zeh and has no kids. V'shava el beis avia b'nu kiran, that she goes back to her father's household like her youth. And she could eat truma again. And however, no non-kohen could eat truma, restating that. Amana grusha, a widow or a divorcee from a non-kohen marriage, and has no children from the non-kohen, Vishava, she returns back to her father's house be supported by the truma of the kohen family. But if she has a child, then she's not allowed truma, as long as the child is alive, because she has a bond now to a non-kohen family. No outsider may eat it. Why is it saying this? This is coming to exclude an einin. A mourner is mutter with truma. Zoros is about an outsiderness. It's not about being in a not happy state. If a man outside the priesthood, he eats only if a man outside the priesthood, he eats holy food unintentionally, he shall add a fifth to its value and give all to the priest as holy food. A man eats holy food unintentionally, he shall add a fifth to its value. So in addition to doing a sin, you got to pay 20% more. He gives the kohen the kadshov. 25%, 20%. Could be, it's not sure. Tess gives to the kohen holy food, some that's fit to be holy.
The fifth, right?
A fifth at the end, or a fifth of the original amount. Whatever. He doesn't have to pay him money, but he has to pay him actually non-sanctified produce back, as well as the extra fifth. The priests may not profane the holy offerings of the children of Israel. That Hashem is selected for And they select, they designate for Hashem as truma. It goes to Hashem's servants, the kohanim. It's not profane to eat, to feed it to non-kohanim. Tazayin, last verse, the priest will bear the responsibility, the transgression of the guilt, if outsiders eat their holy food. For Hashem, you sanctifies them. Tazayin. The priests will bear them, they themselves bear the transgression when outsiders eat their food that was separated from Truma, that has become holy and prohibited to them. I'm sorry. They will bear responsibility. Rashi, they themselves will bear responsibility if outsiders eat their holy food that was separated. Thus became holy and prohibited to them. Uncles translates it as when they ate in a state of impurity, he translated unnecessarily. The priest will bear. This is one of the 3 times in the Torah where Shmuel expounds as speaking of the person himself. They will bear themselves. He will bring himself. Moshe was buried him in the valley, he buried himself. Thus explained in Pesifri.